Do you want to know the secret to 5-pound tomatoes and 20-foot tall tomato plants like you see on the internet? So do I. If you figure it out, let me know. It is May 7th here in western Colorado, and my weather has finally chilled out enough that I feel confident that I can put the tomatoes in their final home for the year. So we're going to start doing that today. We're not going to do them all, but we're going to start doing that today, and I'm going to show you the different methods that I've settled on after almost 30 years of trial and error. And I've tried most of the weird things that you see on the internet. Some worked, some didn't. And that whole journey is really what made me settle on how I do it today. So I'm going to be right up front with you. It's not going to be earth-shattering, groundbreaking techniques, but if you've had issues in the past and you've struggled with growing tomatoes, follow along with me and I'm going to show you what worked for me. And if you implement it in your garden, it'll work for you too. It's not rocket science. There's a lot of myths out there on the internet, a lot of people doing crazy stuff like saying 5-pound tomatoes, that kind of stuff. In reality, if you follow these simple steps, and along the way we'll talk about some of these internet things, but if you follow these simple steps, it'll work for you and you'll have a great tomato harvest. Let's go check it out. Okay, so we're doing this video right now because last weekend started the frenzy of people around here planting out, going and buying their plants. And I had a ton of people come pick up my San Marzano tomato plants, which actually look phenomenal this year. I'm hoping it stays this way. While people were coming and picking up a bunch of the plants, a lot of good questions came out of it, and I realized that a lot of people really want to know some tips and tricks, and a lot of people that haven't really planted tomatoes before. We have a lot of new growers out there. So you may have heard a bunch of these, and that's okay. Follow along with me. I'm just going to show you my tips and trick, and I want to make sure all the people who are buying these San Marzanos from me, get them off to the best start. So for everybody who did come by last weekend, thank you. And we're going to have a bunch more for sale this coming weekend. What I've done this year, and we're going to see, it's all trial and error. I told you, try it. It doesn't hurt to try it. I have 2 here that I decided to keep for myself. Something that we talked about, I talked about with a lot of the people. One of the tricks, I know it's exciting to get flowers. So if you can see them here, we're already getting yellow flowers. I know it's exciting to get flowers because flowers mean tomatoes, and that's what we're in this for. But if you can hold off, now it's not going to hurt anything to leave them. If you want to leave them, go ahead and leave them. You're going to get tomatoes. But I want my tomato plants to focus on its upward green growth for still quite a while. I would say 2 to 4 more weeks for my area. Your area might be different, but 2 to 4 weeks that I'm going to pinch these flowers off so it can't grow them yet. I want it to focus all, see there they are. I want it to focus all of its energy on big green growth. Now the other one that I found out I talked to a lot of people on, and let's see if we can get it in here close. I'm sure you've seen it in other videos. But down here in this elbow, this little piece that I'm shaking right here, that's a sucker. So where you have a branch and then you have your main stem, you'll get these 45 degree, I think it's 45 degree angle, suckers coming out of it. Now what that is, that can actually be an entire another plant. It's going to shoot out the side, and if you don't get rid of it, it's going to grow a ton of side foliage. Now if that's what you want, that's fine. Every time I try to do a video out here, these birds want to join me. If that's what you want a big bushy plant, absolutely fine. But if you want that plant to grow tall, now you've probably seen the single stem method. The single stem method, when you see people do that, they get rid of all those suckers so it focuses all that energy into the main stem. And the plant can actually grow, I mean, I've heard of them growing 18, 20 feet tall. Notice I said heard of them. I've never had one. I have had them get 10, 12 feet tall, where I need a ladder to get up there. It's a balancing act. Figure out what works for you. If honestly, growing one that's 10 or 12 foot tall is a pain in the butt to get the fruit off the top. So kind of gauge it. At first I pinch the suckers, make it grow tall, and then I keep some of the suckers on the top ones sometimes. Play that by ear and how you want your plant to look. So for now, what we're going to do is just pinch that sucker right off. Now you can actually go through and repot this and have a whole nother plant. Now what I'm doing this year, I planted a ton of snow peas. Peas are extremely hard to grow here in western Colorado in the beginning part of the season. So I will be putting another succession in midway through the summer so they can grow into the cold months. I'm hoping I get a decent harvest out of these peas, and that's what all these plants back here are, all peas, and then I put a trellis back here. Now my idea is, because we get so hot so fast, is I'm gonna put a couple tomato plants in, one here, and it'll help shade through the day, give shade to the peas at different times, and I'm hoping it causes, or at least helps me get a pea harvest. So that's why I'm doing this. Now you don't need a whole bunch. Usually all I'm using is kind of an all-purpose. This one's a 222. I've had great luck with Dr. Earth. Nothing here is sponsored. And I started using the mycorrhizae fungi, or mycorrhizal fungi, however you want to say it. And just dusting. Every time I transplant, I dust the roots. I honestly can't say if I've seen a huge difference or not, but it's supposed to really work, and a lot of the people I trust do it. I don't see any negative effects, so we're going to do it this time. But an all-purpose fertilizer. Now, one little thing that I do is I mix that fertilizer into the bottom of the hole with the soil, because I don't want my roots hitting straight fertilizer. So that's something to think about when you're doing this. Now the other one I do is I strip these branches. Now you can already see, if I can find it in here. Oh, nope. So what I'll do is I'll come up to the first big branch. What I was gonna say is once you plant them, wherever your first set of flowers are, I strip everything below that. You don't want your leaves touching the soil, and you definitely don't want water splashing back up on your leaves. That's just a way to get disease. So what I'm gonna do here, I see another sucker. We're gonna pluck that thing. And this is just getting the plant prepared and ready. And then I'm going to pull this bottom branch off. Now the cool part about tomatoes is they can grow where all these little hairs and bumps are down here. They can grow roots out of, and that's going to be important here in a minute. So all you're going to do is pick where you want it. You want to make sure you give your roots enough room to spread out. Now you've probably seen the different things on the internet, as if you've been searching this up, about how they lay the root ball sideways and then bend the plant up. I've tried that, and it really hasn't done any different than the plant next to it. It hasn't hurt it either, so it's something you can try. I didn't see any benefit out of it. So neither one, benefit or hurting it. It just didn't do anything different. I have many times just planted it as deep as what the pot is. Now this is a 3/4 gallon pot, an industry 1 gallon that I show in all my other videos. So it's a decent size. It's already been up potted, and you can see how thick the stems on these are. What I've come to adopt is just going, so I show you I plucked this branch off here, and then this sucker. I'm gonna go as deep as just above right there so the roots will come out. Even though I really don't know if there's a benefit to it or not. So I do go deeper, even though I don't do the sideways method. Get in here and just loosen everything up and pull you a good sized hole out of there. It's better to pull more soil out now so you can get it deeper, because you can always kick a little bit in if you need to raise that level. But what I've come to find, especially out here, is when you get windstorms, if you go deeper down in the soil, it's anchored a whole lot better. I honestly don't think it produces any more than if you just put it at pot height. I really haven't seen any benefit to any different ways of planting, except the stability. You've got this much under the soil, and that stem becomes a lot sturdier when the wind starts to blow. So that's the reason I do it, and it's the only reason I do it. So all we're going to do is just loosen this up, and let's take a look at the roots on here. Now don't grab the stem and yank it out completely. Turn it upside down and squeeze and let it slide off. You don't want to put any more stress on the plant than you have to. The roots look pretty good, but you can see they were already starting to swirl. So all I'm going to do, now I did water these yesterday, mid-afternoon, so the soil isn't super wet. I've done it both ways and it works both ways, wet and dry. But I'll go through and I'll squeeze the edges just to kind of break up, and then hold on to the stem and just like you're teasing your hair, I guess, go through here and just gently tease the bottom. You don't need to break them all loose. I just like to get the root ball on the bottom broke up a little bit. Set her down in there and let's see how deep we are. And actually that looks pretty good. First we're going to set it off to the side, and I'm going to take a handful. Now my thought is, and again it's not scientific, my thought is it takes a while for this all-purpose, any kind of granular fertilizer to take effect. Down deep in the hole, I put it down there and then I swirl around and dig and get it mixed in with that bottom. So as soon as the roots grow down in there, it's got the soil that already has that fertilizer in it. But the roots aren't coming in direct contact with that fertilizer. Now, your mycorrhizal fungi, let's see, all it is a dust. So you can do it one of two ways or both ways. Just take a little bit, it doesn't take a lot, and sprinkle it down there in the hole. You'll notice a lot of your premium fertilizers have that already built into it. The other way and or is hold it up here and dust the root system and just dust it. It doesn't take a lot, but just go around and dust it. And then put your plant down in that soil, and then we're going to backfill and bring everything back here. Now, honestly, I told you this is a test with the peas. It gets so hot here, I typically don't get a pea harvest, even though I tried. So this, we're going to see if it works. Now I pack everything in nice and tight, and I make sure that none of the soil is up on the branches. And you're going to get, at first, the plants are small. But notice how much, I mean, you saw how big that plant was. Notice how much of it is out of the soil now. So that stem has a lot more rigidity just being deep in that soil. And that's what I'm talking about. Now this tomato plant is going to take off pretty quick once it settles in. But grab you some nice sharp cutters, and this lowest branch right here, I'm going to clip it off because I don't want it hitting the soil. And actually, we got another one on this side. And like I said, it's going to grow roots out of that area. I'm going to leave this one for right now, even though it is kind of touching the soil. I'm going to sweep the soil toward it, and that'll help. That branch will eventually come off, but I don't want to do too much stress or cause too much stress to this plant right now. And that's really all there is to it. Here's another plant that I got, and it's about the same size. I kept these two for myself, but it shows you how deep we went into the soil. And we're going to plant it over on the other side. And then what I'm thinking is I'm going to put spring onions all in between them. So let's jump over to the other side. So just like on the other side, I'm going to take off these lower branches, and if you had any suckers, which this one doesn't, then I would take those off. The bottom ones anyway, I would take those off now. Now you can 100% branches, suckers work better in my opinion, but you can actually shave them, and that might be a whole nother video, but shave off just the outer I think they call it the epithelial layer. Get yourself, you don't need it, but you can get yourself a little rooting hormone, put it on there, stick it in a pot, it'll grow roots, and it'll be another plant if you want to do it that way. Now while we're doing this, it's probably good to talk about, I mentioned the granular fertilizer, the fertilizer that's in chunks basically. It takes a little while for that to break down. So just throwing it in there, and actually on that same note, a lot of people will go through and do eggshells. Now I grind my eggshells to a powder and I do add it to my soil, especially tomatoes and peppers, for calcium. I don't do it thinking it's going to help it immediately. It's not. It takes quite a while to break that down. So if you're going to start doing that for calcium, don't do it thinking it's going to fix anything immediately. Everything takes a while to break down. So even though we're putting some all-purpose fertilizer, the granular fertilizer, down in the bottom here, for the first while I do water-soluble fertilizer that's available to the roots right away. And I'll put it, I mean, you could do the fish fertilizer, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And the whole argument versus organic versus synthetic, you can look that up on your own. But the soil and the microbes don't know the difference. But that's up to you. Like I said, you guys know on my big beds I do mostly organic. There's sometimes. So I'm not going to say I'm strict organic or anything like that. I went ahead and clipped off the little flower cluster that was on there. All we're going to do is the same thing. Squeeze it, get it ready. Remember, don't pull on the stem. Turn it upside down. And you can see this one's got a lot more wrapped around that bottom. So just take a minute and just squeeze and turn. We already put the fertilizer in. We're going to grab some of the mycorrhizal fungi, dust that down in there, because if it provides a benefit, I want it. Get our plant down in there and pull the soil in, and that's all there is to it. So to give you an overview, here's what we look like. We've got a big tomato plant on the left, and they are indeterminate. If you don't know, indeterminate will grow all season and produce all season. Determinate will grow to a specific set size, put out all their fruit, and be done. So these guys are the big ones. They'll keep growing. We have one on each side, one there, one there. I've got all my snow peas across that back trellis, and then in the middle, I'm going to plant a bunch of spring onions or green onions. And then we're going to go through and put a thick mulch down, and it's ready for the season. Hopefully we'll get peas, onions, and tomatoes out of one bed. Now, a key thing for me that I don't see a lot of, especially new growers, but even growers who've been doing it for a long time, I don't see them keep up on the pruning. I prune the heck out of my tomatoes, and once these get a little bit taller, I'll do a quick little update video just to kind of show you how I strip all those bottom branches, because you don't want the water splashing up on the leaves, especially on tomatoes. When we get to the peppers, I make my peppers look like palm trees, and you'll see that one here pretty soon. Now, we let these things grow, but what do I do with all the tomatoes? When you make freeze-dried powder out of tomatoes, it lasts for over 25 years, and it's super easy to store, and it's super easy to cook with. So let's run inside, and I want to show you a jar that I did last year, and I'll do some reconstituting and show you how that works. All right, check this out. This is San Marzano tomato powder that's been run through the freeze dryer that we did last year. Actually, the year before, if you look, 9/6 of 23. Once you do this, it'll last, I mean, and honestly, I don't know. They like to really push that number 25 years. I think it'll last a lot longer, but all I do is vacuum seal them inside of a mason jar. But what I wanted to show you, and I put an oxygen absorber in there, but check this out. It's just a powder. And I do that with all my hot peppers for spices. Let's see, hot peppers, I do it that way. Hot peppers, onions, garlic, to do garlic powder. You can do anything like that with the freeze dryer. And I know not everybody has a freeze dryer. That's not what I'm saying. But I think as far as the preparedness side, since this is the chili prepper, I think my goal this year is I'm going to grow enough tomatoes that I can do a lot of these and offer them for sale on the website that we're putting together right now. And it's slow going. We're turning the website over from the family name business that we had for years over to the chili prepper. So I just kind of wanted to show you that when it comes to preserving, you can can them traditionally. You can do, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can prepare tomatoes for long-term storage. but the best one that I've found is freeze drying. So hopefully I'll be able to grow enough this year that we'll have this for sale for all you guys who are preppers. But remember, I always say, you don't have to be a prepper to be prepared. So even if you just want to be prepared and not call yourself a prepper, you can get this stuff too and put it away. All you have to do is start adding water to it and stirring it as it absorbs. It comes up to a paste. If you keep putting water in, it comes up to like a spaghetti sauce consistency. If you keep putting more water in, you can get it all the way to like a tomato juice. But this little mason jar, one of the small mason jars, will make one of the big, one of the big size like ragu jars that you buy in the grocery store. But it's pure San Marzano tomato powder, and you can add your seasonings to it, whatever you want to do. Since I just cracked the seal on this one, we'll be using it pretty soon. Okay, hopefully you got something out of this video that'll help you on this year's planting. If you did, leave me a message down below, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps out a lot. I know everybody says that it's hard to get the watch hours, but for me it seems like it's harder to get the subscribers. I tend to get a lot of watch hours, so it's backwards. And we'll be back soon. The peppers are almost big enough when we're potting peppers and everything else that we're putting out there in the garden this year. We'll see you next time.